Have you been to the Lincoln Memorial? You came right to the studio from the
I didn't
airport.
go today, but I was there just a few days ago. Yeah.
Last night I walked around. I was there about midnight, and these people from all over the country are already starting to assemble, and they were walking around, and it was amazing. And I've told each person that I meet, you come here, you come with your family, and you immediately introduce yourself to somebody else, and you start praying.
Yeah.
You know, there's got to be almost a bubble around it.
A prayer covering. It's a prayer covering. Open heaven and a prayer covering. Yeah.
May I ask, your father was the heir apparent, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
When your uncle died, your father died in mysterious circumstances. Some people say he drowned in the pool, but there were bruises on him, and when the medics got there, what'd they say?
One said just out loud, and those heard him, they said, there's no water in his lungs. He was dead when he hit the water. So he was, his home had been bombed, his church had been bombed, he had been physically assaulted, he had been jailed like his brother, and they were very, very close. It's almost, they've been compared to the Kennedy brothers.
Right.
Yeah.
What does it feel like to have a family heritage? I mean, a family heritage of death for speaking your mind in America. That seems so strange.
That's our legacy, that's our heritage. We have to have courage, we have to be prepared. And that's why, to the naysayers and my critics who are saying right now, Alveda King has no right to discuss the legacy of Martin Luther King Jr. She's hijacking the dream. And I said, I have a dream that's in my genes. How can I hijack me? I am an heir of the King family legacy.
Isn't that part of the dream, though, that everyone has a right to dream?
Yeah. Yeah, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And my uncle even said, black men and white men. And then he said, Protestants and Catholics and Gentiles and Jews joining together. If they remember the speech that he made, those were the kinds of things that he said. He wanted America to be restored. He wanted the bankruptcy of America, and that was a moral and spiritual bankruptcy, to be reversed. That check, insufficient funds check, he wanted that to be made good. So that's what I'm believing in, and I know that's what we're talking about. When we say honor, respecting and regarding those who care about the least of these, who care about others, charitable thoughts and charitable lives. How can anybody hope, and charity? How can anybody fight against that? I don't get it. I don't get it.
Back in a second. Alveda King is back with us, and she's just almost like showing me a family album here. This is her book, Who Are We in Jesus Christ? And it's in it you talk a little bit about how the black man has been swindled, lied, and robbed or robbed of his rightful place. What does that mean?
Well, what has happened in America, and we can go back, David Barton's going to talk about this to you a lot. You and he discuss it all the time, the founding fathers, and then some people say, well, they had slaves. And then I say, well, some of the black founding fathers probably had slaves, because there were black founding fathers too. And but they were not perfect men, but they served a perfect God. And they had enough sense to put on the back of that money, in God we trust. You can't eat a piece of bread in America without remembering that you have to trust God to get it, you see? And so in this book, we talk about that and how we have to get past the racial issues, because there's one human race, and then we have to love each other's brothers. Unity, that's what we talk about.
I saw I think it was the Washington Post today. Was it Washington Post? Or no, it was Root magazine, which voted me the blackest white man in America.
Wow.
Which I don't even know.
Oh, goodness.
Congratulations on that, huh? And in it, they said that Glenn Beck has done more damage to racial politics. And I thought,
yes, you have.
That's a good thing, isn't it?
It is a good thing, because people keep calling me, and I'm talking to the media and different people. I said, didn't you hear Glenn Beck say we're one race human? and that we need to get along. I said, now you didn't mind when my uncle said we have to learn to live together as brothers or perish as fools. But if Glenn Beck says something that's very similar and says we're one race human, let's get along.
How do we get past this?
We're getting past. This is the work that's being done.
So
this is the work that's being done today.
I believe the truth shall set you free,
Yeah.
but it's going to make you miserable first. This is the miserable part, facing up to the truth.
This is the heat. We're in the fire. But you come out on the other side like pure gold. We're going through the fire, but we're not being burned. And we come through after the heat, and we come out like pure gold, united. You've got to stay there. You have to keep that message. You can't let anybody bring you out. But I'm talking to me, not you, because you should have seen me this week.
In the last couple of weeks, I've gotten there too, because you read stuff and you're like, that's not even close to true.
Yeah.
That's not even close to true. This is, we did an experiment. When we come back, do we have we have time now? Can we show up some of the headlines? We found some of the headlines from your uncle's march.
Okay.
And some of the headlines are absolutely astounding. Let me see if I have any of them here. Do I have them? Yeah, here they are. I love these. Letter to the editor from someone long active in civic affairs. Of all the plans for demonstrations now contemplated, none would be more disastrous than the march of thousands of Negroes upon Washington in August to urge the passage of the administration civil rights bill. Such vague demands of Martin Luther King for all here and now are bound to lead to nothing but disillusion and violence. We had Strom Thurmond calling the demonstration totally unnecessary and totally uncalled for, and it had distorted in the eyes of the whole world the view of freedom as it actually exists in America. Mm-hmm. I mean, the things that were said, what happened? What happened on that day?
That was one of the most peaceful marches and experiences. I wasn't there. My parents were there. And, of course, my uncle being the focal point. But as you said there again, he even knew that himself. It wasn't about Martin Luther King Jr. It was about America with the eyes of the world watching. And so it was a very peaceful demonstration, and people were conciliatory and surprised.
The people that came, because I've talked to you about this, you went to jail, and your father said, what part of the deal didn't you understand?
That's right. Go back and look at nonviolent principles again.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so he let you spend the night in jail so you would learn the principles.
Yeah.
People that marched with your uncle and your father, they understood. Just take it. I mean, they had dogs. They had
dogs, guns, billy clubs.
You got it. They had it. People in America aren't used to that, and what would be the advice? I mean, I said on the air today, I said, no matter what people say, or if people are shouting at you, just link arms and sing a hymn.
Sing a hymn, and we'll be doing that too also. I did bring, let me see if I got them. I want to remind everybody as they're coming, nonviolence is not passive, it requires courage. Nonviolence seeks reconciliation, not defeat of an adversary. Nonviolent action is directed at eliminating evil, not destroying an evildoer. That's very important. A willingness to accept suffering for the cause, if necessary, but never to inflict it. A rejection of hatred, animosity, or violence of the spirit, as well as refusal to commit physical violence. And faith that justice will prevail. And that's what people are going to have to come knowing, and we have to be that way all the way through. We do.
Back in a second. Alveda King is with us again. She's going to be joining me on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. She's doing a tribute to her uncle and then some. You don't want to miss it on Saturday from the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. A little humbling for you to stand there where your uncle, down a few flights, but
Thank goodness.
Is that a little, because it's really strange for me.
Yeah.
But you, with a personal connection, what's that feel like?
Well, as a part of the King family legacy, and there's a threefold cord there. The three siblings, Christine King Ferris, Martin Luther King Jr., and Alfred Daniel Williams King, they were bonded. And so our family still lives that way today. And so knowing what the King family legacy really is didn't have anything to do with one man who history decided to make what he became, but a man who feared and loved the Lord. And so that's enmeshed in our legacy. That's who we are.
Did you see that Andy Stern from SEIU said the Martin Luther King and the whole civil rights movement, it wouldn't happen if it wasn't for Malcolm X? You needed to have that that violent side.
Well, as one who lived through the civil rights movement, marched, went to jail, had the house bombed and everything, it was the mighty hand of God moving on men and women of faith who loved God and loved each other, who were able to move out there. That was the force that did that. The violent side really came under subjection to faith, hope, and charity. It really did, if you go back and look at it through history. And some people say, well, Martin Luther King was killed, Malcolm X was killed, your daddy was killed. But what lived and what remained, those principles are still here. And you know what? Malcolm X, at the end of his life, changed. He began to say he had to love people. He couldn't hate anybody because of the color of their skin. Malcolm X said that.
Amazing.
Yes, he did.
Alveda, we will see you Saturday.
Thank you.
All right.
Bless you, Glenn.
Final thoughts in a second. I want to leave you with a couple of things. First of all, they are still building the stage and all of the jumbotrons and everything. This is where Martin Luther King stood, right here, to give his speech. This is where I will appropriately be standing down here. I want to show you what the crowds and what you should be looking for if you're coming to the event. And I keep hearing that, you know, because there's only 20,000 people that are going to be there. Really? I learned this. See, I fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So this time we're going to have an accurate crowd count. I'll explain on Monday how we're doing that. But this is the memorial. This is where it'll be. There are jumbotrons all the way down here, and there are jumbotrons in this field just in case, you know, miracles happen and more people come than we expect. But so you know, if you see the shots from the memorial this weekend, Martin Luther King had 20,000 people here. I'm sorry, 200,000 people here. This is about 200 to 250,000. This is between 3 and 350 approximate. So if you see pictures on Saturday, you'll know Martin Luther King filled it here. 200,000 just by the reflecting pool. Restoring Honor, Saturday from Washington. Good night, America.